the radical left, Soros-backed New York State Attorney General Letitia James, a disaster.
Donald Trump has this, I'm on his enemies list, not only because of that $454 million judgment, but also because all of the cases that we have brought during his second tenure. And each and every day, as I walk in our beloved Brooklyn, people come up to me and say, Tish, I'm afraid to take my child to school. Tish, I'm afraid to go to work. Tish, I have to close down my restaurant. And even individuals, immigrants, some of them undocumented, who have been witnesses to horrific crimes. I cannot serve as a witness, Tish. I'm afraid to go into that courthouse because it is no longer a safe space. They're claiming that I engaged in mortgage fraud, that I somehow decided that I was a resident of Virginia, which would be some commute every morning to the office of 28 Liberty. That somehow, I should be held to the same standard as Donald Trump, but somehow what I did was basically similar to what Donald Trump engaged in. And there's just no comparison. The allegations against me are totally baseless. And again, it was based on a 2-year investigation of his assets. And that judgment was issued by a Supreme Court justice. And there was an argument before the First Department Appellate Division, and we are awaiting a decision. I will respond to these baseless allegations at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way, but I am 100% confident that it will not result in any criminal indictment or action against me, and that it is nothing more than a revenge tour, and that Donald Trump just ultimately got to the J's, and I was next.
The key allegation, again, it sounds like you don't want to address them here, but I'm just going to put it out so people understand that a property that was owned in Virginia, a mortgage that you signed, if I'm not mistaken, for that property, that they say you falsely represented yourself as a resident of Virginia, and that was essentially amounts to mortgage fraud since you're a resident of New York. What is your response to that?
It's baseless. Everybody knows I'm a resident of New York, specifically Brooklyn. And again, we will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate way to these baseless allegations. And some media outlets like the Daily News over the weekend has indicated as much.
That's all you want to say?
That's all that I'm going to say.
Woke and weird Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James, is in a lot of trouble. And she's lawyering way up in a very, very big way. Letitia James, of course, went after President Trump in a totally bogus case. We'll get to that. And she also likes to spend her free time hanging around drag queens and children. A decade ago or so, you could be arrested for that. Now it's part of a campaign, huh? How about that? Yeah, she has hired Abby Lowell, that man right there, because she's in trouble. Now, we'll get to, again, the particulars about why, but remember what brought her to the public eye, the public fore, right? She hassled President Trump.
High-profile attorney Abby Lowell is the lawyer representing New York Attorney General Letitia James. And today, he sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi arguing the Department of Justice should reject a request to prosecute James over allegations of mortgage fraud. He says the criminal referral against James is improper political retribution and lacks any credible foundation. In the letter, he said, quote, "The stunning hypocrisy of President Trump's complaint that the Justice Department had been politicized and weaponized against him is laid bare as he and others in his administration are now asking you to undertake the very same practice." He sent this letter after the Federal Housing Finance Agency referred Letitia James for potential criminal prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud, something James strongly denies.
My response is it's baseless. Listen, Donald Trump is on a revenge tour, and he finally got up to the J's. And so it's my time. And so the allegations are baseless. I'm not going to litigate them in the media. We will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate fashion. I just want all of you to know that I, again, stand up each and every day to defend the rule of law and the Constitution, and to do my job without fear and or without favor.
Officials within the Trump administration say differently. They accuse James of using falsified records related to property she owns to receive favorable loan terms. And while her attorney is accusing the Trump administration of weaponizing the DOJ, some legal analysts and many Republicans question James's use of the justice system. Lowell is asking the DOJ for a quick response to his letter requesting they reject the criminal referral against James alleging mortgage fraud.
Well, it's really interesting because this is being blown up all over the place. And, with Letitia James, these people just merely project to people, against people, what they are doing. They blame them, like Donald Trump, when in fact they're doing it in the background. And this fraud that happens, if the fraud bubbles up and there's documentation, there's records showing that she has committed fraud, and I know there are allegations, but if these ring true, then it's just going to expose something that's going on the inside of the banking system, because a lot of people don't realize the mortgage fraud going on against the people. So we've got bad actors that are such as Letitia James, who's committed all this fraud. How does that even happen? I mean, how does that even get allowed? This has been going on for over 2 decades with this lady, and it seems that she, touts the law, but she doesn't follow it herself. It's rules for thee and not for me.
Let me ask about, how those consequences could cascade. When people commit mortgage fraud, is it typically just to get better rates on their money?
I think obviously people try to dip into doing things that are considered illegal, right? And I was in property management for 26 years. That's what I did. So I dived into a lot of the things that were going on in the background. And I'm really surprised. I was the HUD director of my company before I got into the fight for our children and got into this whole thing about systemic bank fraud. But we have people, again, on both sides of the spectrum. Letitia, here she is, doing this to benefit herself, when we have people suffering right now due to actual mortgage fraud going on by the banks themselves. So it seems to be like there's bank fraud going on with the actual banks. We've got people in the system that are committing fraud, and it's just like nobody cares. They just allow these things to take place, and the projection is getting very old from these people who continue to come against us in the system. And so I'm always telling people that it's time that we get to the truth, and the truth is going to set us free. And there is so much fraud going on both sides. So I think
on the lender and the borrower side, and I get that there's a lot of advocacy around that lender fraud, and perhaps that's where a lot of the focus is on enforcement. But here, this is on the borrower side.
What is your response? Comment below. That's all for today. Thank you. If you want global news to keep you up to date on any new developments, please subscribe our channel and forward our content with your friends on social media and email. Thank you very much for keep supporting me. Stay safe. Be blessed. Namaste.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.